Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. International Youth Day is celebrated annually on the 12th of August to bring youth issues to the attention of the international community and to celebrate the potential of youth as active partners in the global society. This event focuses on the importance of mental health for adolescents and young adults, as well as the launch of webcomic in association with the World Youth Day. Now I invite Ms. Sadini Upeka, the President of the Golden Sea Club, Faculty of Medicine, University of Colombo, to welcome the gathering. Over to you, Sadini.
Thank you, Ashira. A very good evening to all of you. It is my pleasure and privilege to welcome you all to this webinar, the final event of Project Young and Strong. We are honored to have our Dean, Professor Vidya Jyoti Vajradisanaika, gracing and addressing this occasion today. I would also like to warmly welcome our eminent speakers, Dr. Pavitra Godumune, Dr. Dulangi Dahanayaka, and Dr. Rajit Silva, who have graciously allocated time from their busy schedules to educate the youth on mental health, a very important aspect of a balanced and fulfilling life. I would also like to welcome our academic advisor, Professor Pianjali Vizoisa, whose guidance has been crucial throughout this venture. Last but not the least, I would like to warmly welcome Sri Lankan state and non-state universities, professionals, and all other interested individuals. Thank you all for being here, and I hope this will be an enlightening and productive session. Over to you, Oshira.
Thank you, Sadini. Next, I invite Vidya Jyoti, Professor Vajradisanaika, the Dean of the Faculty of Medicine, University of Colombo, to speak a few words. Thank you, Sadini. Next, I invite Vidya Jyoti, Professor Vajradisanaika, the Dean of the Faculty of Medicine, University of Colombo.
Good afternoon, everybody. I would like to begin by thanking the academic advisor and the students for having invited me to say a few words today. It's been a pleasure for me to have participated in all the activities that you have been organizing during the past year amidst all that is going on in the pandemic around all of us. In that context, keeping strong for both young as well as the old is becoming very, very important. And I think for the first time, all of us are beginning to realize the importance of the word stress, if I may use that word. Stress was a word that I was very, very reluctant to use all my life. But during the past year, I personally, having experienced that, I think that is probably one of the most important, aspects that's been determining the way we behave, the way we act, the way we conduct ourselves. And I think I have personally seen the importance of reducing the stress that is continuously not only me as the head of an institution is subjected to, but everyone else in the institution in the context of the pandemic. Mental health is coming into the forefront of our day-to-day life, because not only because of the pandemic, but also because of the multiple influences that are determining our day-to-day life. The electronic world that is determining the way we conduct ourselves in our professional life as in our daily life is not only influence on our profession, but it also has enormous implications on the way we conduct ourselves. The social media, the electronic media is influencing all aspects of life, our day-to-day life, our professional life, the interactions that we make with our community, and being a part of this connected world is an added burden that all of us are facing. While facing the stressors of stressors outside that, the social media and the connected world, and going about day-to-day life too is becoming enormously challenging for everyone because of the restrictions in our day-to-day movement, contact with people, and so on. I think the very fact that we are compelled to wear a mask creates a kind of a boundary in front of us, which we were never used to. And personally, I find that one of the biggest, barriers to me functioning, because I am someone who, I am someone who likes to smile with people. I like to talk with people. I'd like to interact with people. And having a mask in front of me is a really has been one of the biggest stressors, if I may say that, during the past year. So I take every opportunity to be without a mask if I can. In that context, the medical community, not only the medical community in terms of the various categories of healthcare professionals, but also the student community, not only medical, but nursing and other allied health professional student community, in our context of our faculty, the physiotherapy student community, is also facing enormous challenges. And one of those challenges that I see is the various peer pressures that are being exerted on them. I think in today's world, for some reason, not being influenced by peer pressures, the social media, and all that is going on around us is becoming very challenging and difficult. So, in that context, reminding ourselves of the importance of mental well-being, discussing about it, and taking various steps to improve mental well-being is so very important. I'd like to congratulate the students of the Golden Sea Club for all the wonderful work that you've been doing during this pandemic to keep the students engaged, and not only the students, but even the staff engaged in various activities that you are doing, and ensuring that the social interaction outside of the classroom, the lecture hall, the small group activities, and even the clinicals is continued and maintained, because that is so very important. In the digital space that we interact with today, it is becoming very challenging for us to keep the social interaction in the digital world. Now, even if you take this meeting that we are having today, if I were to go to the gallery view of Zoom, you'll find a lot of names, no pictures, no faces. The long-term impact of that, I don't know. Anecdotally, I can tell you, especially with the new batches who are coming in, one of the observations that the basic sciences academic staff has been making is that if you make a breakout group of students and get them to interact with each other, the interaction is very little, because it is not like a group of friends coming together in a digital space and interacting, but it's a group of strangers in the first year who are now put in a digital space and and told to interact. And there are immediately stressful situations in interacting in that kind of environment. So while we promote mental health, mental health well-being in the conventional sense, we may also have to focus on promoting mental health in the new digital environment that we find ourselves in. That is perhaps a challenge that all of us would have to take on for the future, because the digital world, if we continue too long in the digital world, my worry is that we may lose touch on the one-to-one human interaction that is so essential, especially for those in the field of medicine. We know the importance of the healing touch. We know the importance of the healing mind, healing smile that you may, the facial expressions and so on. So those are also new areas that we may have to venture into and explore as we go on, because the longer we exist in this digital world, digital spaces, the one-to-one human interaction elements that are so essential for us, for the healing aspect, may go away from us. So once again, in conclusion, let me congratulate you for your young and strong initiative and the various activities that you've been conducting as a part of that. And today's activity too is so very important. And while congratulating Professor Pianjali Soisa and all the students who've taken the leadership in organizing this event, I would also like to thank the resource persons from our faculty as well as the university and beyond who have taken the time off to join this event today and impart your knowledge on our budding doctors as well as the invitees who have joined the meeting today. And I look forward to listening to the to your talks and learning from you, as well as help take the message beyond today's event to the greater community out there, not only in our faculty, but also beyond. Thank you very much and all the best for today's event.
Thank you, sir, for those words of inspiration. Ms. Yasara will now take over to moderate today's guest speeches. Over to you, Yasara.
Thank you, Oshira. Just a small reminder before we start. You can send in any questions you may have regarding the topics we are discussing today through the chat, which will be answered by our expert panel at our dedicated Q&A session at the end. So we have three very special guests who have joined us today to talk about mental health for adolescents and young adults. Our first speaker for the evening is Dr. Pavitra Godamune. Dr. Godamune is a developmental psychologist with over 15 years of clinical experience. She is also a senior lecturer at the Department of Medical Education and contributes her services as a developmental psychologist to the Ayati National Center for Children with Disabilities. Today, she will be talking about building self-esteem and avoiding self-destructive behavior. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Will I be allowed to share the screen?
Yes, madam, you are able to share the screen.
So good afternoon to you all. And first of all, I would like to thank Professor Pianjali Soisa and Ms. Sadini Upeka and the Golden Z Club of the Faculty of Medicine, University of Kelaniya for inviting me today. And I would like to congratulate you all on launching this webcomic aimed at promoting youth mental health, which is a very good initiative. And today I have been asked to talk about building self-esteem and avoiding self-destructive behavior. And in the 15 minutes that I've been given, I would like to talk a little bit about what exactly self-esteem is and why is it important, especially for young adults to develop self-esteem. And we'll take a look at how we can develop self-esteem. Self-esteem is something that we can develop at any age. So first of all, if we take a look at what self-esteem is, it's how much you respect yourself and like yourself. People with high self-esteem accept themselves for who they are. They value themselves. And I must point out that having high self-esteem is very different to being narcissistic. Narcissism is an excessive interest in yourself, admiring yourself, and it is characterized by selfishness. It involves a sense of entitlement and a need for constant admiration from others. Whereas people with high self-esteem, on the other hand, they are satisfied with themselves. And narcissistic people feel superior to others. Whereas people with high self-esteem, they value themselves, but they value others as well. They don't consider themselves to be more valuable than others. So high self-esteem acknowledges equality and reflects humility. And people with higher self-esteem have a realistic view of their strengths and weaknesses, and they maintain a positive attitude even when they fail at a task. So if you look at people with high self-esteem, they tend to have what we call an internal locus of control, which is simply that they believe that they are largely responsible for what happens and they have control over what happens. And they are less likely to take things personally. They are open to constructive feedback, and they have good interpersonal relationships with others. And they don't, they view mistakes as opportunities. Whereas people with low self-esteem, on the other hand, they tend to have an external locus of control. Believe that life is almost totally controlled by outside forces. You can see self-destructive behaviors in people with low self-esteem. They have poor human relations skills, poor interpersonal relationships, and they tend to avoid challenges and they don't even try. They take things personally, even feedback, and they begin to socially withdraw. You see some of these characteristics well depicted in this comic that you all are launching, Amali's story. You see Amali withdrawing because she has developed poor self-esteem, and you can see her socially withdrawing, and and they seek outside of themselves for reassurance, and they are very vulnerable to peer pressure. And I said that low self-esteem is associated with self-destructive behaviors. And if you take a look at what we mean by self-destructive behaviors, these are often a form of self-punishment in response to a personal failure, which can be actual failure or something that you have imagined or perceived. And there are different types of self-destructive behaviors. There's self-harm or self-mutilating behavior, like cutting yourself. Suicide is a very extreme case of self-destructive behavior, drug use and abuse, and various other risky behaviors. So this self-esteem, whether you have high self-esteem or low self-esteem, tends to operate in a cycle. Like when you have high self-esteem, you have more positive self-talk, therefore you have high achievement and a more positive perception of yourself and others, and better relationship and improved self-confidence. And if you have low self-esteem, you tend to have more negative self-talk, I'm not good enough, I'm a failure, like that. And because of that, you tend to have low achievements and then a negative perception of yourself, and unhappy relationships, and a lack of self-confidence, and so forth. And unfortunately, these consequences, if you have positive self-esteem, then you're less vulnerable to negative views of others. And researchers have shown that if you have high self-esteem, you have better mental health. and better psychological well-being. High self-esteem is associated with helping or pro-social behavior, higher achievements, whether in your career or academics, and basically success in life. And people with high self-esteem have life satisfaction and a better quality of life as a result. And people with low self-esteem, on the other hand, tend to engage in violent and self-destructive behavior and have poorer mental health. And poor self-esteem is linked with a wide variety of mental disorders such as depression, anxiety, eating disorders like anorexia, and also social problems such as violence, school dropout, substance abuse, teenage pregnancy. So low self-esteem not only leads to personal suffering, but it also has a negative impact on your community and society. So self-esteem tends to change with age. I am a developmental psychologist, so I just wanted to tell you a little bit about how it develops across our lifespan. And I just want to show you, young adulthood is a very vulnerable age where you can have low self-esteem, because this is the age when you're exploring your options and trying to figure out who you are. So it is a stage in life where you can develop low self-esteem and the resultant problems. And therefore, it is very, very important for young adults to develop positive self-esteem. And so I think I have highlighted the importance of developing high self-esteem. So let's take a look at how we can go about developing positive self-esteem. I just want you to take a few seconds and think about a positive experience in your life when you felt good about yourself. Like when you have felt that you matter, that you are valued. So think about the experience. How did you feel like? You probably felt very secure, safe, and trusting of your environment. You probably felt special or unique. I mean, you felt worthwhile, didn't you? And you also felt important and appreciated. You had a goal or purpose, and you felt that you made a difference. Okay, so the positive experience that you had probably satisfied a basic emotional need in us that helps reinforce your own belief in your value as a person. So these are the 5 important feelings associated with positive self-esteem. One is a sense of security. You have a feeling of trust and safety. A sense of self, you know who you are, you know who you really are. And you have a sense of belonging, or a sense of affiliation. And you also feel that, there is a meaning to your life, that you have a purpose, so you have a sense of mission. And you feel competent. You feel that you are capable and successful in the things that you do. So there are 2 attitudes that you need to develop this kind of feelings, this kind of healthy self-esteem. One is that of self-efficacy, which is confidence and trust in the functioning of your mind and ability to take decisions. And also self-respect. Okay, that your belief in your right to exist and assert your wants and needs. I mean, not being scared to tell your wants and needs. And Nathaniel Branden talked about 6 pillars of self-esteem, which is how you can go about building self-esteem. One is to live consciously. Okay, this is being present in each moment and being aware of your own surroundings, okay, what is happening inside of us as well as what is happening around us. Being self-accepting, meaning you accept both your strengths and weaknesses. You do inventory and identify your strengths and weaknesses. So becoming aware and accepting the best and worst parts of you. And this also involves forgiving yourself, because there are things that you might have done that you regret. But forgiving yourself for things that you can't change, but that you regret, can help improve your self-esteem. Okay, so it's essentially about being self-accepting and loving yourself as you are. And it is also important to take personal responsibility. Yeah, I mean, realizing that you are responsible for your decisions and your behavior and the actions that you take in your life journey. And also accepting, full responsibility for whatever consequences. And it's important to be assertive. Okay, being self-assertive is also important for self-esteem. And this, again, I think you can see in the comic that you developed, one of the key factors leading to Amali, having low self-esteem is because she's not assertive. She's not authentic. She can't tell her wants and needs, and she bends to others' needs. So being authentic and willing to defend your beliefs and interacting with others rather than bending to others' will simply to be accepted or liked can, that is also important, to be assertive. And you have to live purposefully. That means, like you should have goals, short-term goals, long-term goals, and also realistic goals. Okay? And you should have realistic plans for achieving those goals so that you get a sense of control over your life. And finally, the sixth pillar is to have personal integrity. Okay? Being true to your word and your values. And finally, I would like to talk about a few strategies that you can adopt to boost your self-esteem. The first one is to actually know yourself well, explore yourself, and take an inventory of your strengths and weaknesses. And challenge your negative or inaccurate thoughts about yourself. Just because you fail at one thing doesn't necessarily mean you're bad at everything. Okay, so you have to distance yourself from this kind of all or none thinking. And also, you need to stop comparing yourself to others. This is especially important in today's world where young people are constantly on social media. You have to realize that, a lot of people try to project this amazing life on social media, where they hang out with their friends or their holidays and all kinds of glossy pictures, which makes you feel bad about your life because you feel that you're not having the same kind of experiences. And you've got to realize that it's probably not real. You have to stop comparing yourself to others. And even research has shown that too much engagement in, like this kind of social media comparison is bad for your self-esteem. And it is important to avoid perfectionism. Okay, like you don't have to be perfect at everything that you do. And it's important to set realistic expectations and achievable goals and celebrate the small victories in life. Okay. You finish something on time. Yay. Enjoy that little victory. And as I said, it's important to live consciously. So one strategy that you can use is to practice mindfulness, being aware of every moment, and spend time with people who value and make you feel happy. And I want to add that if you have persistently low self-esteem, then it is good to seek professional help. I think in your comic, that is what Amali finally did. She sought the help of a counselor. So, because a counselor can help you work through those negative self-talk that might be present because of low self-esteem. So finally, what I would like to conclude my talk with is by saying that, self-esteem comes from within ourselves. Okay, and positive self-esteem is attainable. We have the power, and when we achieve it, it will allow you to feel good about yourself and have a high quality of life filled with successful relationships. So thank you.
Thank you, madam, for that wonderful talk. I think most of us would have gained something from your talk, and it was very informative. So I would like to remind again that questions are welcome. You can type in your questions through the chat, which will be answered later. Moving on, some of us may have a friend who's going through a mental health crisis, but not many of us know how exactly we can help our friend get through his or her problem. So next, to talk about how we can help a peer get through a mental health crisis, we have with us our second speaker for the evening, Dr. Dulangi Dahanayaka. She is a senior lecturer in psychiatry and a consultant child and adolescent psychiatrist attached to the Department of Psychiatry, Faculty of Medicine, Colombo. She is the current Vice President of the Sri Lanka College of Child and Adolescent Psychiatrists and the Treasurer of the Sri Lanka Association for Child Development. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Yasara. Can you see my screen, Yasara?
Yes, madam, we can see.
Good evening, and first of all, I'd like to congratulate the Golden Sea Club of the Faculty of Medicine, Colombo, for organizing this sort of activity to increase awareness and to see what we can do to help each other through the rough times. So I will mainly focus on what we can do to help a peer who is having a mental health crisis. So I'll just concentrate on three broad areas. First, in order to help our peers, we need to be aware and be informed about what a mental health crisis is like, what might happen to them during a mental health crisis, and also how to get support. And then we need to reach out. Sometimes I guess we are not very sure about what we can do. Even if we do know that our friend is not going through the best of times, we might be a bit unsure as how to approach, talk to them, or we might even be a bit reluctant to ask them whether something is wrong. So how do we reach out? And of course, we need to offer support and ongoing help and access necessary professional help like Dr. Pavitra mentioned when needed. So I will mainly talk about these three aspects that we can consider when we think about how we can help a peer who is having a mental health issue. So what does a mental health crisis look like? So mental health issues may present with a very broad array of symptoms. Sometimes they might be withdrawn. You might notice that your friend is crying more than usual, or they are simply not communicating with you as usual. They are not going out. They are not engaging in the activities that they previously liked. Or else they may have a lot of trouble. Their performance may go down. They may not be studying as usual, or they may have trouble focusing. They may skip exams or skip their lectures or other clinical appointments or other assignments that they are supposed to do, which is unusual for them. So if you notice that there's a change, then of course you need to be a bit more vigilant. And sometimes they might also, have more frequent temper tantrums, be irritable. I think you have done it nicely in the webcomic where you describe the features that Amaya was having. And sometimes she was irritable, she was upset, she wasn't able to focus and do the work that was expected of her. But sometimes we might not detect anything. So I think you may have seen this photograph, which was widely circulated in the media of of a member of the British royal family, where this lady had said that on the day that this event was happening, she was actually having suicidal ideation. But for outsiders, she was smiling and looked fairly okay. So sometimes people, although they are having a lot of struggles, might not have overt symptoms that suggest they are going through a very difficult time. So unless we know them well, unless we have taken the trouble to have a good relationship with our friends or our colleagues, then we might, of course, not notice that things are not going too well for them. So mental health crisis can look so different in from person to person. It can vary to such an extent that unless we know the person really well, sometimes we may never know. We may think they are doing really well. I think even in your comic in Amaya, although her friend noticed that she wasn't doing too well, everyone else thought that she was, just whining and not doing her work, or that she was getting along well. So mental health difficulties may not present as, as overt as we think they may. Sometimes the first indicator may be if the person self-harms or if someone engages in a suicide attempt. So we need to be very careful when we talk to other people and we see what they are going through. We may sometimes inadvertently create problems without actually meaning to, because we are not aware. So always be compassionate towards your friends, your colleagues, your group mates, so that sense of safety is there within your group or within your relationship, so that your friends may open up if they have problems, and you can also feel safe to open up if you go through any mental health difficulties. So like I said, we need to be informed, so there can be diverse presentations. And then it can happen to anyone. Sometimes we feel that this sort of problem happens to people with, certain deficits in their character or certain external stressors. But it's not necessarily so. Sometimes people who appear to be doing really well, or even ourselves, we ourselves may have problems with our mental health at certain points in life because of different things happening in our lives and because of how our bodies are functioning. So you have to be aware that it can happen to anyone. And then you have to be informed about what you can possibly do. I think that's why you're all here, to listen to this sort of talk, because you want to know what you can do if you detect that your friend or colleague is not going through the best of times. So how do we reach out? What can we do if we feel that our friend is upset, or if we feel that something is not right? What can we do? I think, like I said before, the most important thing is that you have a sense of community. You allow them to feel that you are available, so that they know that if they want to talk to, that you are around. Or if they just want to spend time with you, still you are around, even if they don't want to sort of spill out all their troubles. Sometimes just being around someone is adequate to help a person who is going through a stressor. So in your community, in your clinical groups or in your study groups, it's very important that you create a sense of it being a safe space. So you don't, you are compassionate towards each other. You don't judge. You don't make, nasty comments. You try to be compassionate. You try to be helpful, so that then that culture of being that companionship, the culture of safety, all that is created within your groups. So then, even if you have a mental health problem, then you would feel safe enough to discuss. So the most important thing is to create that culture of safety, and also to create the feeling that you are available and that you have time for your friend. And then, of course, you need to make time. So if you do feel that someone is not doing too well, maybe you can make contact. You can give a call, or if you meet them, you can have a chat and see, just, ask how they are doing. Sometimes they may describe, sometimes they may not want to tell you everything. But simply, asking how they are doing might be a really helpful factor for them, because then they know that someone cares enough to, bother to find out how they are doing. And if you feel unsure, if you feel maybe it's not your place to reach out to your peer or reach out to your friend, what you need to remember is that you can make a difference. Even simply allowing your friend to know that you're there is enough. So by reaching out, what I mean is, you need not go and, interrogate your friend. You can just ask how they are doing and how things are going in terms of their studies and how are things at home. So you can just broadly talk to them. And if you feel that they are not willing to talk to you about it at the moment, just hang out, just let them know that you have time and you are available for them. Then when they feel comfortable enough, they will definitely open up. So you can make a difference if you reach out. And then, of course, we also need to know how to offer support. So you reach out, you just let them know that you're there. And if they do open up, you have to be a good listener. I think that itself is a very powerful way to help someone struggling with a mental health difficulty. If you just listen to them, if they just, unburden their troubles on you, if they just talk about what's going on, and if you just listen to them without judging and without, chipping in with your thoughts and with your ideas, just letting them know that there's someone, who's listening to them and hearing them. So I think that itself is a very, very powerful tool, and we can all do that. We can all, if we bother, if we are, concerned enough, we can make time for our friends, for our peers, to listen and to not judge. And we can all offer emotional support. We can, if they cry, we can sort of, be there with them. If they need physical contact, if they just need the, sometimes physical contact is a very powerful tool in human interactions. I know it's a bit restricted now with COVID and everything, but, a pat on the back or even a hug for your friend is something that people find very, very helpful when their mental health is not in the best place. And another important thing is to validate their feelings. So if someone describes how they feel overwhelmed and how they are struggling to cope with everything, then you need to sort of validate that feeling rather than brushing it off aside, saying, "Oh, you are doing so well. Why are you whining?" I think that was the sort of thing that was there in your webcomic, where some of the friends were saying, "Why are you doing this? Why are you whining?" Rather than offering validation and support for that peer who was going through a difficult time. And then, of course, we can also offer instrumental support. By instrumental support, what is meant is, like physical support. Maybe you might get them food. I think in the webcomic also there was a girl who offered to make dinner, or you might help them, get some study material, or you might involve them in a study group. So you can offer some instrumental support. And if you feel that things are beyond your level of, ability to support your friend, then of course, please reach out and get help. So you can talk to your mentors, or you can talk to anyone involved in mental health facilities, so that you get the adequate support, or the student counselors, so that you get the adequate support for your friend if you feel it's beyond your level of, it's beyond what you can support. And then I just thought it would be interesting just to mention a bit about peer support. So it's slightly different from an individual helping a peer who is going through a mental health crisis. So peer support is where people who have had experience with mental health difficulties or other issues, other difficulties, and who have now overcome those, they form support groups for people and other peers who can reach out. So there are like formal support groups or self-help groups where people can share experiences and practical tips on how to overcome certain problems and offer emotional support. And then also mentoring can be done. Peer mentoring is also an activity that can be done with adequate training and support. And then there are also certain online forums that have been set up. And I think it would be a great opportunity if any of you are interested, if any of your, the Golden Sea Club or any other organization is interested in establishing this sort of peer support systems. So that would also be a interesting and helpful way to reach out to your peers who are having problems. And so my 15 minutes are almost up. I just thought of sharing this with you because I just couldn't resist, because I thought it so wonderfully explains how supportive someone just being there for you can be. Okay, thank you then.
Thank you, madam, for that very informative talk. I think it was definitely useful on a very practical note. So moving on, our next and our final topic for the evening is mental health resources for university students. To talk about this, we have with us today the current Senior Student Councillor of University of Colombo, Dr. Rachita De Silva. Dr. De Silva is also a senior lecturer at the Department of Human Resources Management, Faculty of Management and Finance, University of Colombo. Over to you, sir.
Right. Thank you, Yasara. And with permission from Dean, Faculty of Medicine, and Professor Priyanjali, and all other guests, and also same time with all the students, and especially Golden Z Club participants, I would like to share some of those thoughts based on the time given, as well as based on the resources available. I hope it would be little useful for you, like when you are evaluating your way of behavior within the university, as well as even in higher education. Now, as the senior student counselor, I would like to say, there are a lot of resources which are available. Especially, we are representing University of Colombo. When you go through with University of Colombo, there are many resources. And before coming into this, when we go through with university students, what we really expect, right, in order to approach to the topic, what we really expect, I think you can consider in terms of performance, right? In general layman language, we call it as performance. Now we want each and every student to perform. Why? Because you are the spirit of this particular country. Because reason, now you have faced the most competitive exam, possibly most competitive exam in the world, I would say. That is A-level examination. After completing that, now you have got a golden opportunity to enter into a university, respecting to all these free education and all sort of other concerns as well. Then after entering into it, you have to show your colors. Now we call it as performance. From management perspective, where that I'm coming from, we consider about two aspects. Now one is called KPI, key performance indicators. Now we will be establishing then what you need to do. Now that is what you are experiencing, right? It is first class, second upper, second lower, general pass, all these things that you generally consider under these key performance indicators. And also, in modern day, we have recognized in terms of management perspective, another one that is KBI, key behavioral indicators. Why? Because, earlier, now we were concentrating on achieving whatever the given targets. That's all. After achieving that, we were not expecting to go beyond that. But today you can see, even in the business world, as well as all other perspectives, it may be education, it may be medicine, it may be engineering, entertainment, behavioral aspect has been recognized as one of the key importance. When you are going through with this performance, it may be in terms of KPI or in terms of KBI. There are three pillars that we have to work through. The first one, I think I don't have to do, I don't have to say anything with. Now that is going to be A. A means ability. I think you all are the best in Sri Lanka, possibly Asia. ability part, I don't have to explain because you have very competent set of lecturers as well as facilitators and all sort of other accessibility to different resources and things. Ability part actually, which is implicit as well as explicit, also we can consider about. And then these things, like that I think some of you possibly having these inherited capacities as well. More than that, we need to consider our second version, which is motivation. I think like motivation is something for you to go for extra drive, extra mile. How you can make it? It is something to do with the environment. And that is what our next letter E explains. Environment. Because environment has been recognized as one of the major importance for the organizations to perform. Even it may be university, it may be anything. Yeah, even military also that we believe right now. Now, when you consider about this, now that is where now we have to work on motivation as well as environment in order to enhance students' performance. Because we don't want to see somebody just getting a degree and just going out. We wanted to see as academics as well as educationalists, what we want is to have holistic people, individual who can do miracles in the society. Because we consider about another point now that is called EVP, Employee Value Proposition. Now, wherever that you are going to serve, maybe as a doctor, maybe medical practitioner, whoever, you should be very unique. I think previous two speakers discussed about this, what you call esteem, efficacy, and all these points now directly connected to this. Because you have to be unique. Right, you're not going to be like anyone, right? Anyone can be like you, but you are unique. Now, in order to go for it, right? How you can develop this employee value proposition as an individual, right? You are so unique. Now, how can you do that? Now, that is why now we have to recognize when you are going through with this golden time of your life. Now, what are the major issues that you are going to see? And with these issues, we can see the resources. Now, I would say, most of the students, who are coming from, different backgrounds, right? We always discuss this in, what you call orientation programs, now maybe rural, maybe urban, whatever, people coming from different backgrounds. Maybe your connectivity with your parents could be different. Some are not leaving, because there is a very strong bond, unlike Western countries, then what will happen? Now they are so much helping you in terms of your studies and things, like support, encouragement, right? Then when you're just leaving them, now there may be certain study related issues. Now that is one of the major problems that we can see. Now we need resources for that. Next one, some of you with different income backgrounds, maybe sometimes different earning capacities. Now then, education, even though we call it as free education, because there are so many other things that we have to consider, infrastructure. Now for that, actually, students need a huge amount of resources. It may not be only money, but there are so many other things also that we have to amalgamate with that. Now that is what funding. Now then we need a resource or resource base for that as well, too. Next one, that we can see, relationship issues, right? Leaving the family, then there is a vacuum that we are going to experience. And because of that, love, affection, being a social animal. Now you can see that these kind of different important aspects. I think as previous speaker spoke about, now I think US now they have started what you call this hug club. Because of these social media concerns, I think you all are knowing, we miss this human touch. Because human touch having so much of value as well as it could be magical at times, right? I think you all can consider about your parents when they give a small touch on your head or back or whatever, the motivation as well as inspiration that you get. We miss that. Then you need that support as well. Membership issues. What do you mean by this membership? When you come to a different society, different setup, Now, as Professor Vanchana mentioned, now you all are going to be like wonderful doctors in future. In society, we have different clusters. When you say doctor, now there is a specific stage that we have to consider about. And in that, whether you are ready to get that membership, that is where we have to consider about this membership-related issues, which means it may be social etiquette, it may be dress code etiquette, it may be telephone etiquette, right? Conducts and things. Why I'm saying it, because I'll share one of the experience where I observe. Now, time to time when we visit, hostels and all in university, right? I don't want to say like which faculty and things. Now, some students actually, they always break the showers. Then when we ask, like, it's a big trouble because every time when we visit, like we can see it is broken. Yeah. Then when we ask them, what is the reason? Like, one day I can remember I was sitting down with one student and I was having a small chat. Why? What is the reason? Believe me, what is the answer given? Because now we are coming from villages. We used to have a bath from the water stream which is coming from this rocks and all. And that is the same thing that we are going to experience. Colombo. Now, how difficult to get that kind of exposure? Now you can see the match membership issues. To get the membership of this particular society or a particular cluster, then we need resources to make that conversion. And also, same time, you can see knowledge-related issues because sometimes, now, we all are experiencing certain problems. Maybe students, it may be staff, it may be anybody. We will be experiencing these kind of issues. Now, that is where, we need to know where to access, right? Where to reach out. What are the possible, ends that we can have some sort of a trust and better outcome. Now, that is very important. And also, there may be certain issues in terms of adoption, adoption in the sense maybe when you go for even further higher studies, I'm referring to postgraduate studies. Now, even when you get certain relationships going, because you all are very young, you are in golden age, that is a golden Z, right? Now, because of that, now, when you go ahead with all these different stages of your life, then according to life cycle stages, you have to adapt. Sometimes difficult to realize what should be our way of behavior in relation to this. But these are concerns. And also, according to the facilities that we have inside universities as state universities and all, right? There are certain issues in terms of nutrition and all, right? And also, in terms of food and all these things, how we can keep up our life, quality of life, there are issues. Now, that is something that we have to consider. Then you can recognize these problems that we are experiencing as students, as well as even, stakeholders of higher education in generally Sri Lanka. Then how we can consider what are the resources available? Because when you say, our mentality as Sri Lankans, resource means somebody is supposed to give, it should be there. And that is why I'm looking at this from different perspective. And with the experience that I have, I'm going through it. Now you can see self, right? And that is why as a student council office, and also I know for sure, all the deans of the university, each and every faculty, I think now they are taking up many initiatives to make sure these students are fully empowered. Now they are being given opportunity, right? They are given the help now. As I know, some deans as well as even student council office, now we direct some people just to recognize some of our students if they have, let's say, funding issues, right? We provide background for them to help, financially help them in terms of finding jobs, finding different opportunities and things like that. Now that is going to be very important for many of those students. Maybe when it comes to you, it may not be possible because of your nature of studies. But other faculties, possibly it could be from arts faculty, if you can say management faculty, right? These students, now they have a bit of time where they can allocate for this. Then we all provide that help. And also, we are in Colombo now. This is a metropolitan university settings. Like there is no problem where that we have access to resource. Only thing you have to think out of the box. For that, actually, we have to empower students. We do that continuously. Next one, peer members, peer group. I think that is very, very important because now most of the cases now our friends can understand us very well, even better than sometimes parents in terms of certain relationship. Then you have to have proper consciousness to recognize who should be the best people to go ahead with this. And also same time you can see different linkages like Rotary Club, maybe Leo Club, maybe sometimes you can say ISAC, and there are so many other facilities also which are available. We can consider about them. As I mentioned, US hub clubs. Unfortunately, in Sri Lanka, we are not allowed. I think due to Corona as well as social conditions, cultural barriers and things. And apart from that, another great resources, like, where that you can trust quality lecturers, like, who can understand, who were students of this particular system sometimes back, who can, go back to that particular thing. Nostalgia and behaviors, respected individuals in the society. And also, same time, I think each and every faculty, except few, they have personal tutoring system. Now, these personal tutors are like very carefully keeping contacts with all the different students, and they have specific type of behaviors to be considered. And they are the people, who mold some students, like in order to adapt and all these things. These are wonderful resources that we have within the system. And they are providing not only that psychological, mental health, I guess, to settle down their issues. Now, missed love and affection. More than that, they have provided even financial help and things as well. Then each and every faculty, we have permanent student counselor or counselors sometimes, and also temporary student counselors who are very closely working with students. I think now that particular support that you are getting cannot be like given a price, because they are very closely working daytime, nighttime, whenever you need them. Like sometimes, now they are spending, as I know, like continuing the hours and hours of their very valuable time, leaving certain other very important activities as well. And also we have set off, because most of the support we are getting from medical faculty, professional counselors, like I think Professor Priyanjali also one of them. Yeah. And then continuously, like we are giving this particular mental support, right, especially psychological, now upscale support to get out of your trouble. Because there may be many cases that we are experiencing, like suicidal, maybe, now frustration, anxiety, and so much of. Then now, if you go to a private place or maybe a consultant, maybe any other institution, like it's costly. Like now, this is even free of charge with so much of dedication, because you all are like within the University of Colombo family. This is another resource that is available, and also same time. Student Counselor's Office. I would like to share one experience, because earlier Student Counselor's Office, like we were having on an official platform, like official location, official, everything official. Like anybody coming into Student Counselor's Office, then people, other students are looking, hey, who is that? He's going inside, which means he's having an issue, right? In order to like avoid these kind of problems, actually what we did, we created, we did all these, gardening part around, just to make sure now this is the area where students can sit down and eat, they can, study, they can chat, they can do anything, right? Because there are, very good plants and everything like located in there. And because of that, they're not laughing. Our people are there. Like, they always, like, if physically that we are operating, now every time it is one of the crowded place. Then what will happen? Now, anytime, like without giving any notification to anybody can come in, get their support services from the student council's office, and then they can get back to their normal life, right? After that extent, we give attention, especially with the support of the vice chancellor. I think you all need to be very happy because she is from your faculty and she is studied in the faculty as well as she is serving the faculty as well. And now, this is the overall picture. And apart from that, now we have developed a student council's office, and also same time, now we have conducted several activities as well, just to make sure, administrators as well as, other staff, like how we can help students and student-related matters. That is also another, because sometimes, when you say general administrators, they'll be looking at people in a different way. Like sometimes you have the experience of this when you go to government office and all, like how they serve, because sometimes they fail to recognize who are their customers or who are their clients, right? I think, in Colombo University, actually now these pictures are changing, right? Rather than going for punitive, actually we'll be looking at from the clinical perspective, how we can serve, right? Because we all are in one particular family. And also, worst case scenario, now we can go for outside support. Now for that also, university having enough and secured avenues where that we can get through. Now these are different resources, right? Like in terms of our web page and all, we are trying to inculcate all these information sharing concerns just to make sure everybody have access to these, because otherwise what will happen, we have resources, sometimes people may not be knowing, and then now it is ended up in frustration. And that is why we always keep on now delivering these and trying to contact everybody and just go through it. When you get a chance, now this is open invitation. You can share your things, you can share your feelings, expressions, and things with us. As Senior Student Council Office, we would like to welcome you all. Thank you so much, everyone. I think within the time given, I have done the delivery part. Thank you so much, Yasara. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for talking on a much needed topic. This concludes the first part of the webinar. As we move on to another interesting part, Ushira would take over and moderate the webinar. Ushira?
Thank you, Yasara. Over several months, the present and immediate past committees of the Golden Sea Club collaborated on a very special project to bring attention to youth mental health issues in a unique personal way. Today, we are launching the product of those months of work, an original webcomic titled My Name is Amaya, on interpersonal relationships, bullying, and deliberate self-harm. It has been ISBN certified and endorsed by a panel of psychologists and psychiatrists and is available in all 3 languages to be downloaded for free. Let us now proceed to the launch of the comic with a short video adaptation.
Typical Monday night at a typical boarding house. This is Amaya, your typical hard-working university student, all set to lead a group project to success. She's doing just fine. Or is she?
Importance of pyramids. Okay, people, these are the topics. Please distribute them among yourselves. We can finish the presentation early if we work together. No one? Come on, people.
I'll do the content slide.
Not enough. There's so much to do.
Religious beliefs, Amaya. Mummification process, Amaya. Burial rites, Amaya. Importance of pyramids, Amaya. Conclusion, Amaya.
Really, Sandun? Really? Guys, it's just a few topics. I'll even compile the presentation myself if you send me all the slides.
You're so talented now. You can also make the slides.
how's it going?
Hey, Roshan. I'm so annoyed.
Yeah, so guess what? I just bench pressed 100 today. These muscles on fire.
Oh, that's nice. But my brain's on fire right now. There's this assignment.
You know, you should really start hitting the gym with me. We'd get you in shape in a week.
Gym? Seriously? What gym, man? I've got an assignment to do almost single-handedly and a month to study this term's syllabus. And you are talking about going to the gym.
Yeesh. Okay, whatever. You should get back to your work then, if that's what's important to you.
You okay, Ruby? Here, I made us some noodles for dinner. I'm fine, Kavita. Just worried about this stupid assignment. Thanks, by the way. Look, I'm not a history nerd like you, but I'm sure you'll do great. Thanks, Kavita. You're welcome, buddy. It's getting late. I'm gonna go get some sleep. Good night, Amaya. Good night.
Displayed on screen is a QR code, which upon scanning with a suitable QR code reader, which may be found online, will direct you to a folder containing the webcomic in all 3 languages. There is also a shortened link visible on screen, which you can type into your web browser. For full ease of accessibility, the link has also been copied into the chat. Don't forget to drop a comment or review through the Google form linked via the chat as well. Now I invite Ms. Yasara to open the Q&A session. Yasara, over to you.
Oh, thank you, Ushira. It seems like we've got one question, and I think it's best suited to be answered by Dr. Dulangi Dahanaik, I think. So the question is that if a friend is having difficulties in academics and peer relationship in the faculty life and is not seeking support from peers or seniors and resisting any supports given, how can we help her? So, Anna?
Yeah. So I think if a friend is resisting all your support, maybe one way can be to, like I said, just let her know that you're available. And if you are very worried, you can, of course, maybe talk to her about reaching out to her parents or family members or some other adult figure who is able to support them. And I think you can also talk to your friend, because now all the students I think in most faculties would have a personal tutor. So maybe you can talk to your friend about reaching out support through that way. And if you think that there is a very high risk and if you are worried, then of course you might need to even reach out without her consent, especially if there's a without his or her consent, especially if there's if you think there's a high risk to self, or if you feel things are really deteriorating rapidly. And sometimes, sometimes you might also be able to talk to a academic or a counselor or someone in authority without divulging your friend's name, and get some ideas about how it is possible to help him or her.
Okay, thank you, madam. I think you answered the question, and we have another question about how can a person with low self-esteem build her confidence to become better. I think Dr. Pavitra would be best suited for you to answer this question.
So there could be, I mean, there are many reasons as to why people develop low self-esteem, right? Some of it is, our developmental history, like the kind of parenting we received and the peer interactions we had and success and failures we had in life. But you can always build your confidence. Now, you have to do it in a step-by-step way. And you can always enlist the help of your friends, talk to them, and try to engage in positive self-talk. And also it really helps to talk, and get a different perspective on things. So either you talk to a friend or you can always go to a professional counselor who can help you, develop a better view about yourself.
Okay, thank you, madam. We have another question that is like, what can we do if a friend is facing a difficult or abusive home environment? I think Dr. Gulangi might be able to answer that.
Yeah, so that would be a very concerning situation. One thing is, of course, talk to your friend about how they can get some support and how they can reach out to some support outside. It could be like mental health support or even legal support, depending on the difficulties he or she is facing at home. And the other thing is, of course, you might need to talk to a student counselor or someone in that supportive system, especially if you feel that this situation is very detrimental. But of course, it's unless there is an imminent risk, then what we can do is, of course, encourage the person to seek support. But we cannot sort of, like I mentioned initially also, we cannot force it on them, because it will be ultimately their decision. But of course, if there is a very high risk, then we will need to reach out to support from external sources.
Okay, thank you, madam. So it seems like that is all the questions that we have got. A small reminder, if you have any more questions, you can send us through your questions through the chat. So another question is that one question is that some personal tutors are very difficult to connect with. For example, professors and so on. So what can we do in such situations? I think Dr. Rajita might be able to answer this question.
Yeah, I think you put me into trouble. Okay, right. Yeah, I mean, now this is something, because now we all need to understand we are students. Then now when you consider about lecturers, I mean, now they are given a job to do. Now more than the job, I mean, they look at the service as well. Then I mean, there are situations like, especially during pandemic as well as other situations. Now they have so much of work to be done. Then what you can do, I mean, now students have a different perception. I mean, that is the issue. Like, I mean, they say now he or she is very busy. Then there are some other sources also, because let's say now personal tutor is very busy. Then what you can do, now you have counselors, right? Rather than go and say, I mean, everywhere this particular person is not responding or whatever, like, I mean, then you can seek other different types of help, right? And also, you can do another thing. I think as students, like, I mean, we are sharing all our details, like senior student counselor's office details, and also in the handbook also it is there, like our website also it is there. You can you can contact us. Then we'll be sorting it out without giving any pain to you, as well as without giving any kind of harm to that particular lecturer, because now we, as I mentioned, we'll be handling these in a very clinical manner, right, rather than going for punitive manner. Then in that case, actually, if you can let us know, we can help you. Then you try from your end, like whether you can go through with any other support services, any other different access, because every problem there is a solution, right? Now, maybe he or she is experiencing more difficulty than you. That may be the reason, now there is no such a response coming in, right? That is what you can do. Let us know. We'll help you out. Don't worry. Thank you. Confidentiality, 100%.
Okay, so thank you. And
Rajit, I think it's also a question for the Dean.
Yes. Yes.
So, I think this is not a rare occurrence, and as Dr. Rajit said, you can always reach out to the Dean as well. Everybody knows my telephone number and the email address, and you can always drop an email and tell me, my personal tutor is difficult to contact or something like that, and we would handle that in a confidential way. And as Dr. Ajita was saying, these are also people, right? And they also have their issues and so on. And if we get these, if the dean gets these feedback, and then we can, do some such things like reallocation of students. Maybe the academic staff member also is going through a stressful period in his career, and that would help him as well, or her as well. So therefore, you shouldn't be shy to, if you have an issue like that, to inform us. And we have actually done a reallocation of personal tutors in that kind of situation. Yes. And also in the faculty, we have the permanent student counselor, Professor Chamari Viraratna. Then we have every batch has another one or two student counselors allocated, and you know who the student counselors are. And you can always reach out to them as well, the temporary student counselors. And then, of course, even without being student counselors, for example, Prof. Pianjali and I were on a WhatsApp chat while this was going on. And she was telling me there are lots of people, a lot of students reaching out to her, although she wasn't, a student counselor in the past couple of years or so. So I just recruited her to become another student counselor back again while this webinar was going on. So, so there are all these things. So you don't feel shy to reach out. Reach out to somebody in authority like the dean or the permanent student counselor, and we will do reallocations, or somebody who can help you with in a tactful way without divulging any reason as to why we are doing it. So it can always be done. So therefore, don't suffer in silence. That's the message, right? If there's an issue, you can always reach out to us, and we'll be happy to help you. Okay.
Small points, even now, if there is that kind of information coming to us, then what will happen now? We'll be definitely getting back to the faculty, because it is a faculty matter. Because some students, they directly write to the vice chancellor. You don't have to go to that level. We will be sorting it out. Your team is there and everybody's there.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Yes.
Thank you, sir. We have one last question. That is in A-levels, I got the highest marks in class, and at that time I had confidence, but now I feel like I'm not good at all. But I want to get satisfying marks for my studies. So what can I do? I think Dr. Pavitra, would you like to answer this question?
Okay, so I think first of all, you need to take a inventory and take responsibility for your own. I mean, look at the feedback and see where exactly what is causing you to feel that you're not good at all, right? Whether you got low marks or something like that, and look for the cause of that and do a inventory, like in the sense you list what you did well and what you didn't do so well in the that particular exam. And then when you identify your weaknesses, you can work on those weaknesses, and if there are points where you need help, you can always go and speak to one of your teachers or one of your peers, and do a little bit of peer tutoring to get help in those areas. And the other thing is to engage in kind of positive self-talk, that if you feel that just because, like you have to let go of things like being perfectionist, getting super marks, or, thinking, oh, I don't think I can cope, this kind of all or none thinking, you should not engage in. And you need to change your thinking and, have realistic goals so that you can work on your weaknesses. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I think so. Thank you, ma'am. So, I think.
May I add to that, if you don't
sure.
mind? Yes, yeah. So one of the things that I've noticed is, and I always tell students who talk with me about this issue, is that like all the students who come to our faculty are coming on national merit. So like you happen to be among the top 0.5% of the A level cohort. So if you start competing with each other, it is you will get to that situation of feeling you are not doing well enough. But if you really set your own goals and work towards those rather than competing with each other, then I think you will see that you achieve your goals. I think that's another way to look at it. And there have been students who've been reaching out to me with this problem, and then later on, having said what I just told you, they have returned back to me a few years later, saying, yes, now that really worked. No, we are not competing with each other, but I'm not competing with other students, but I've set myself goals and I've achieved them. I've got classes, I've got distinctions, so sometimes you need to get out of that mentality of comparing and competing with others to setting your own goals and trying to achieve them, because eventually, like, you are competing with the top, and when you are competing with the top, it will be much more difficult than in the situation that you were in when you were in school doing your A levels, where you were the top in your class, and that class range was much wider than the range of abilities of the people who are in medical school with you. So that is one message that I have taken to students who have reached out to me. I hope that's helpful to think of it that way.
Yeah, thank you. So I think we'll close the Q&A session now, and I would like to thank all our resource persons for participating in the Q&A session. Before finishing off, I would like to invite Ramit, the Secretary of Golden Sea Club, Faculty of Medicine, University of Colombo, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Yasara. So it's my great pleasure to propose the vote of thanks this evening at the end of this event. I'd like to start off by, first of all, thanking our Dean, Vidya Jyoti, Professor Vajra Disanayaka, for taking part in this event and also staying throughout the event and providing his valuable insights until the very end. Thank you very much, sir. I'd next like to thank our esteemed speakers, Dr. Pavitra Gururatna, Dr. Dulangi Dahanayaka, and Dr. Raj Silva. You all provided speeches that I think hit a lot of students right where it matters, and I'm sure they would have really benefited from the speeches today. I'd next like to thank our academic advisor of the Golden Zika, Professor Pianjali Dizoisa, for always standing with us, providing us guidance, pointers, and much more in the help towards the success of this and all other events. I'd like to thank the Zonta Club 1 of Colombo for their support, and I'd like to thank Dr. Roshan Hevapatrana and the faculty staff for supporting us with the technical details of this online event. And next, I'd like to thank the networking partners for this project for sharing our posts, sharing all other material, and gaining the viewerships for this webinar. This would be the Medical Faculty Students Union and the Medical Students Welfare Society of the Faculty of Medicine, University of Colombo, the Students' Unions of Colombo, Ruhuna, Eastern University, Jaffna, Kalaniya, and Srijavardhanapura, and also the Psychology Society of the University of Peradeniya. Along with that, the Rotary Club of the KDU, Horizon Campus, Mars Holdings were all instrumental in sharing all the material relevant for this project. I'd also like to thank the previous board for their previous work with this project that we are now finishing up finally on International Youth Day. I'd like to thank the members and the non-members of the entire faculty who pitched in and made this event, the video, and the webcomic a reality. And finally, the audience. I hope that you all had an informative and engaging evening, and I hope you gained something useful for your future. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Rami. So this concludes today's webinar. Thank you all once again for joining us today. Have a pleasant evening.